Alright guys, good evening here. Hopefully my microphone's working. Okay, so I'm gonna get this cleared out of the way. I have blue eyes, yeah I have a mustache, I don't have blonde hair. I'm not a Nazi. Yeah, I may have German ancestry, but I'm not a Nazi. So, let's go ahead and go into what a Nazi is, since people clearly want to call us that. National Socialism, as it's called, or National Socialismos, Socialismias, more commonly known as Nazism, is the ideology and practices associated with the 20th century German Nazi Party. Now notice I said that nice and slow. In Nazi Germany and of the other far-right groups, usually characterized as a form of fascism that incorporates scientific racism and anti-Semitism. Nazism was influenced by German nationalism, especially pan-Germanism and the Volksreich movement and the anti-communist Freikorps paramilitary groups that emerged during the Weimar Republic after Germany's defeat in the First World War. Nazism subscribed to the theories of racial heresy and social Darwinism, identifying the Germans as part of what the Nazis regarded as the Aryan, or Nordic master race. It aimed to overcome social divisions and create a German homogeneous society based on racial purity, which represents a people's community, Volksgemeinschaft. The Nazis aimed to unite all Germans living in historically German territory, as well as to gain additional lands for German expansion under the doctrine of Liberalism, and exclude those they deemed either community aliens or inferior races. The term National Socialism arose out of attempts to create a nationalist redefinition of socialism as an alternative to both international socialism and free market capitalism. Nazism rejected the Marxism concept of class conflict opposed to cosmopolitan internationalism and sought to convince all parts of the new German society to subordinate their proposed personal interest to the common good and accept political interest as the priority of economic organization. And then after that, we all know about Adolf Hitler, the German Workers' Party, etc., etc. So, let's look up liberalism. Now, I'm going to give you the basic gist of it. I'm not going to go into economic liberalism or the other four that come up. I've already read this once, so I'm going to try and go through it. Liberalism is a political philosophy. Notice the difference there. The other one was not a philosophy. Let me say that again. Political philosophy. So I'm going to stop right there real quick, and we're going to go ahead and read that. Political philosophy or political theory is the study of topics such as politics, liberty, justice, property, rights, law, and the enforcement of laws by authority. What they are, why, or even if they are needed, what, if anything, makes a government legitimate, what rights and freedoms it should protect and why, what form it should take and why, what the laws is, and what duty citizens owe to a legitimate government, if any, and when it may be legitimately overthrown, if ever. In a vernacular sense, the term political philosophy also refers to a general view or specific ethnic political belief or attitude about politics, synonymous to the term political ideology. Political philosophy is a branch of philosophy. There you go. So, is a political philosophy or worldwide founded on ideas of liberty and equality. Liberals espionage a wide array of views depending on their understanding of these principles, but generally they support ideas and programs such as freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, free markets, civil rights, democratic societies, secular governments, gender equality, and international cooperation. Liberalism first became a distant political movement during the Age of Enlightenment when it became popular among philosophers and economists in the Western world. Liberalism rejected the prevailing social and political norms of hereditary privilege, state religion, and absolute monarchy, and also the divine right of kings. The 17th century philosopher John Locke is often credited with founding liberalism as a distant philosophical tradition. Locke argued that each man has a natural right to life, liberty, and property, while adding that governments must not violate these rights based on a social contract. Liberals opposed traditional conservatism and sought to replace absolutism in government with representative democracy and rule of law. Leaders in the Glorious Revolution of 1688 and the American Revolution of 1776 and the French Revolution of 1789 used liberal philosophy to justify the arms to overthrow the royal tyranny. Liberalism started to spread rapidly, especially after the French Revolution. The 19th century saw liberal governments established in nations across Europe and South America, whereas in the well-established alongside republicanism, if I could say it, in the United States. In Victorian Britain, it was used to ridicule the political establishment, appealing to science and reason on the behalf of the people. Before 1920, the main ideology, opponent of classic liberalism, was conservatism. So, after reading all that, let me go back and I'll read some more from the other one. And then I'll wrap this up. Alright, we'll skip, Adolf Hitler, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. So, now if you look here, in 1933, the support of traditional conservative nationalists, Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany, and the Nazis gradually established a one-party state under which Jews, political opponents, and undesirable elements were marginalized and eventually and obviously we know several people were killed. The Sturmbannglern, I probably said that wrong, and the Schutzstaffel function as the paramilitary organization of the Nazi Party. And now, what you guys are referring to are the neo-Nazis. Now, let's read the difference between Nazism and neo-Nazism. Neo-Nazism consists of post-World War II military, social, or political movements seeking to revive the ideology of Nazism. It is a global phenomenon with organized representation in many countries and international networks. It borrows elements from Nazi doctrine, including ultra-nationalism, racism, up to xenophobia, ableism, homophobia, anti-Romanism, anti-Semitism, anti-communism, and the initiating the Fourth Reich. Holocaust denial is a common feature, as is the incorporation of Nazi symbols and the admiration of Adolf Hitler. In some European and Latin American countries, laws prohibit the expression of pro-Nazi racist, and anti-Semitic or homophobic views. Many Nazi-related symbols are banned in European countries, especially Germany, in an effort to curtail neo-Nazism. So, yeah. Now, let's go to here, the United States. There are several neo-Nazi groups in the United States. The National Socialist Movement, with about 400 members in 32 states, is currently the largest neo-Nazi organization in the United States. After World War II, new organizations formed with varying degrees of support for Nazi principles. The National States Rights Party, founded in 1958 by Edward Reed Fields and J.B. Stoner, countered racial integration in the southern United States with Nazi-inspired publications and iconography. The American Nazi Party, founded by George Lincoln Rockwell in 1959, achieved a high-profile coverage in the press through its public demonstrations. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution guarantees freedom of speech, which allows organizations great latitude in expressing Nazi, racist, and anti-Semitic views. A First Amendment landmark case was National Socialist Party of America versus Village of Sakaki, however you say that, in which neo-Nazis threatened to march in a predominantly Jewish suburb of Chicago. The march never took place in Sakaki, but the court ruling allowed the neo-Nazi to stage a series of demonstrations in Chicago. The Institute for Historical Review, formed in 1978, is a Holocaust denial body associated with neo-Nazism. Organizations which report upon American neo-Nazi activities include the Anti-Defamation League and the Southern Poverty Law Center. American neo-Nazis are known to attack, torment, and harass minorities. So, yeah. There you go. And I hope you guys enjoyed your little 13-minute history lesson.